So you've heard me say so many times that the absolute worst life to live is a half-lived one. I firmly believe that this life was meant to be lived. And many times we can find ourselves existing versus actually living. In order for us to live, we actually need to operate from this level of intentionality. Not just allowing life to happen to you, but waking up every day, taking ownership of the moment and allowing life to happen for you. Because if we're not careful, we could live a life on autopilot. Live a life of just going through the motions again instead of bringing the emotion. And it's not until we get to the point that we're making the conscious decision to activate the power that we possess, the power that has been given to us, so that we can fulfill our intended purposes. Not until that we get to that point of activating that it factor, that we can ultimately achieve a life of fulfillment. Today, I want to continue this conversation that another level requires another lever. And that lever isn't on you, it's in you. I want to, but for a moment, talk about capacity. Because I want you to understand you have capacity. Capacity to achieve, capacity to become, capacity to build, capacity to restore, capacity to finish. If I was to give you a definition for the word capacity, I would say that capacity is inner ability to achieve more. Let me say it again, that capacity is inner ability to achieve more. That it's already in you, but it must be harnessed, it must be developed, it must be fed in order for it to be realized. And you have capacity. I would say that the very thing that you have the ability to achieve and or produce is on the other side of you choosing to activate the capacity that you possess to go to finish the fight. And as humans, we're powerful beings that have been given this great capacity. But the crutch in our capacity is that we still have to make a choice. A choice to let go of the old in order to embrace the new. A choice to understand that to accept something is to reject something. To accept dysfunction is to reject peace. To accept being paralyzed is to reject movement. I'll say it this way, that choosing not to be better is intentionally choosing to be bitter. We got to make a choice. So today, because you have capacity, it's important to understand that there's a daily fight for that capacity. And in grasping the clarity that you need in order to activate the capacity, it's important to understand the competitors that are fighting for your capacity on a day-to-day basis. Believe it or not, there are competitors fighting for your capacity. I want to give you today 3 competitors that are fighting for your capacity so that you can ultimately illuminate it and then eliminate it. Let me say it this way, that you cannot eliminate what you don't illuminate. And so in order to confront it, we must address it. We must highlight it. Here's one of the biggest competitors for our capacity that we can miss. This competitor is fighting tirelessly for your capacity. And here's why it's so critical to understand these competitors, because I wrote it down this way. If you misidentify the competitor, you will misallocate your capacity. Let me say that again. If you misidentify the competitor, you will misallocate your capacity. That's just another way of saying that you will waste your energy fighting the thing that doesn't actually make the difference if you're not clear about what is actually fighting against you making a difference. So the first competitor for your capacity that we want to talk about today is the competitor called ego. I want you to lean in here with me, because what I want you to grasp is that ego is a silent competitor that is designed to destroy your life. If I give you a definition for the word ego, ego is the decision to redirect essential energy toward image instead of substance. Let me say that again. That ego is the decision to redirect essential energy towards image instead of substance. Let me say it a different way. It's making the decision to spend your energy, your essential energy, your valuable resource of energy on looking good versus actually being good. It's when we're so committed to looking impressive at the cost of being effective. And I say it this way, that being impressive doesn't always mean that you're effective, but being effective is impressive. Wow. So what happens is when we allow the competitive ego to infiltrate our lives, it will rob us of a deep level of awareness as to where we can actually grow, where we need to improve. Because we're not necessarily focusing on being good, we're focused on looking good. So we will stop at good enough at the cost of achieving great. We will focus so much on imagery versus substance, and by doing so, we never really get to the root of it. So ultimately, we can't impact the fruit of it. I'm just helping you to understand that the ego, the desire to look good at the cost of actually being good, the desire to show up and to show off versus having the substance that is necessary, just robs you of true awareness as to where you can grow. And you're missing out on a life that is so fulfilling, so powerful, so purposeful, because you're choosing to stop at looking versus being. I wrote it down this way. Ego is like bad breath. Everyone notices it except the person who has it. Let's move on to competitor number 2. And this competitor is constantly fighting for your capacity. This competitor is fear. Fear is the emotion rooted in inadequacy that causes you to shrink to your comfort versus rising to your calling. Fear is the thing that causes you not necessarily not to take action as a version of yourself that is not the authentic you. Fear doesn't necessarily stop action, it limits boldness. And I want you to understand that in order to activate your capacity and to operate from that capacity, you have to be bold. I always say it this way, that if you're bold in your stance, you cannot be controlled by your circumstance. Here's a third competitor for your capacity, and that's comparison. You know how easy it is for you to fall into the trap of comparison, and by doing so, spend so much time ruminating about something else that you miss the power, the gift, the blessings that are right in front of you. I wrote it down this way. Comparison is the rabbit hole of measuring your process against someone else's stage performance. It's when you're looking at your life and you are criticizing where you are against where somebody else is showing you that they are. And we live in a world where everybody's putting on this stage performance. It's as though authenticity is a disease. And even in the breakout of artificial intelligence, the concept of not being able to really decipher between what is real and what is fake is making it that much harder for us to truly value what it means to really be authentic. And so we're constantly looking at these images and these places and these trips and this business and all of these different things that people are showing, and we're comparing the stage performance versus our real life process. You've heard it said that comparison is the thief of joy, but I believe that comparison can create limitations on your true capacity. Because ultimately we can attempt to aim for a target and hit that target just because we're comparing ourselves to something else and not realizing that hitting that target is missing the target that matters most to us. You have capacity, and capacity, again, is inner ability to achieve more. You see, at this phase of your life, winning is going to look less like you beating something else, and it's going to look more like you becoming the version of you that you know, that you feel, that you see, that you believe, but you've yet to realize. And in order for you to be on that journey of truly being who you were created to be, of being able to operate in your unique assignment, it really is a shift in perspective from ego to true empowerment, going from fear to faith, going from comparison to identifying the uniqueness that you possess and harnessing that until it becomes far greater than anything you could have dreamt of or even created. I'll end this with a story about a man who lived on a piece of land, and he was visited by a person in the town who said that this town that they were living in, they heard rumors that there were diamonds hidden on the land, hidden somewhere on the ground. And so this man, wanting to take the risk of finding these diamonds, packed up from his home and went on a quest throughout the town, digging and looking for these diamonds. Well, somebody else ended up moving into the house that he lived in. And they just decided, if there's diamonds in this town, why not start where I'm at? And so they decided to dig right there in that spot, the spot that the man left, to go find the diamonds somewhere else. And as they started to dig, they found the diamonds right where they were. You see, the first man felt like this thing, this diamond, this value was nowhere in proximity to him, that it was somewhere else. So he moved out of a place that had everything he needed. He went searching for these diamonds in a different place. And it just took somebody else to move into that house and to make the decision that instead of looking somewhere else, I'm going to look right where I am. Maybe the diamonds that you need, the value, is right beneath your feet, right beneath your feet, right beneath your growth, right beneath you reading and studying and evolving, right beneath you getting therapy or counseling, whatever the case is, or coaching. Maybe it's right here. But again, you cannot get potential out of what you don't put potential into. So today I want to challenge you to switch your perspective and to truly understand that if you're going to elevate your performance, another level requires another lever. And that lever isn't on you, it's in you. And if your mind can conceive this and your heart will believe it, then your hands can create it. Until next time, I'm Jovan Glasgow. Stay empowered.
Hey, what's up, difference maker? Jovan Glasgow here, and from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. You know, this is where you come to gain the clarity, confidence, and influence that you need to level up in your impact. And my heart's desire, my mission is to see you achieve the pinnacle of your purpose, to live a life that is fulfilling in every single area. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you turn on your bell notifications so that you are notified whenever I drop new content. I can't wait to see you again on the next video. And until then, stay empowered.